Hello everyone, Louisa Jewell here. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy and staying in your homes, social distancing. I know that can be very difficult at this time. If you did not see last week's post, I hope you will watch last week's post. It had 4 different strategies on how you can stay healthy and happy and be resilient during this time of crisis. And today I want to do more of that. And today I really want to focus in on how to reduce the fear of the coronavirus, because this is pretty fearful stuff. You know, we're fearful of the consequences. What if I get coronavirus? What if one of my children gets coronavirus? What if one of my best friends, my family, my extended family? You know, I have lots of cousins in Italy. I worry about them. Thank goodness they have all been safe despite what's happening there. So it's all very fearful. The other fear is, am I going to lose my shirt, right? I think about, I was going to put my house on the market. I can't put it on the market anymore because of the coronavirus. I'm thinking, what if this cuts my housing price in half? I don't even want to look at my stock portfolio right now because it's probably devastated my portfolio. You know, so these are all things that in my head, I'm fearful as to what the economic repercussions are going to be for me. So I want to share with you, first of all, the first strategy on, you know, how do you deal with all of these fears? We have all of these fears, and our children have these fears as well. And the first strategy really is to keep it in perspective. So I think about the worst case scenario. So that's the first thing I do when I put things in perspective. And I think, what if my house is going to be worth half of what it was earlier in the year? What if my stock portfolio is half of what it was, or a third of what it was, before going into this crisis? What if I get the coronavirus? So I take each one of those kind of worst case scenarios, and what I do is I try to think about, what is the likelihood that that is going to happen? So for example, what if my house is worth half of what it was at the beginning of the year? Then, you know, what is the likelihood that that's going to happen? Well, luckily for me, I live in an area of Toronto where there's a housing shortage. Toronto's always been a hot market. So, you know, let's hope that that's not going to be the case. If that is the case, what would I do? Well, I'm, again, very fortunate. I don't have to sell my house at this time. I did not buy another house. I don't have to sell this house at this time. I'm fortunate that I have the financial resources to keep it for another year if I want to keep it for another year. So this is not going to be the end of the world. If the worst case happens, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. What if that happens? Then I will put a plan in place, maybe renegotiate the mortgage that I have, etc. So I'm starting to think about all the things I can do to maintain the house that I have if I have to stay in it for another year or two. So that's good. And also, keeping it in perspective, at least I'm not going to be homeless. At least I'm still have a roof over my head. At least I have a place for my family to live. You know, when I think about keeping it in perspective, I think of the people around the world. I mean, we live better in Canada than a good percentage of the population around the world. Even if I did, lose my home, I'm still way better off than a lot of people who live in this world. I gotta keep things in perspective. It's not great. It's not great to think about that. But I know me, I will recover. I will find other ways to make revenue, and I will succeed. And I'm confident that I will do that. And I'm confident that you will do it and you will succeed, and we can all help each other as well. I know through the graciousness of friends, the generosity of friends that have shown me their beauty, I just know that things are going to be okay in the end. So the tool is, think of the worst case scenario, then ask yourself, really, what is the most likely scenario? And then put a plan in place for what you're going to do should the worst case scenario happen. So that's how I put things in perspective. Second tool I want to talk to you about is the tool I call I'll deal with it then. So when I think about getting the coronavirus, instead of being fearful, oh my gosh, what if I get coronavirus? First of all, I think, well, again, I put it in perspective. I think, well, what if the worst case was to happen? I put a plan in place for that. I have all the medications I need to be prepared. Should I get the coronavirus, I have a plan in place for what's going to happen with my daughter who lives with me. You know, should we need to be isolated from each other? I will deal, the strategy is called I will deal with it then. Instead of worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet, I say to myself, well, if it happens to me, I will worry about it then. I will deal with it then. But worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, is really a waste of my energy. And I need that energy to go and do good things in the world, to help others, to help my daughter, to help my community and my friends. So I am not going to worry about something that hasn't happened yet. I will deal with it if it should come my way. And hopefully it won't come my way. And hopefully it won't come to any of you as well. Now, the third thing is to stop ruminating. What is ruminating? Well, ruminating is when, you think about something. So you've got this fear, this stressor, and you think about it over and over and over again. So it's kind of these repetitive thoughts that happen. And scientists now know that it's the #1 contributor for female depression. Why female depression? Because women do it way more than men do. And that's the real difference. That's why women have twice the likelihood of depression as men. It's because we do this kind of obsessive thinking. And we think we're solving the problem, but we're actually not. We're actually not solving the problem. We're actually just thinking about it over and over. And what is that doing? That's putting all those stress hormones into your body again every time you think about it. So you really have to, every time you start going into that obsessive, repetitive thought, just stop. Just say in your head, stop. Some people put an elastic on their band and they snap on their wrist and they snap the elastic to get them out of that thought, but have awareness when you go into these things, and then ask yourself, what is the fear that I'm obsessing about? Because if you can't name it, you can't tame it. So ask yourself, what is the fear? What keeps coming back into my body all the time? Identify what the fear is, name it, and then solve it. Solve the problem. And if it's something that's out of your control, then you've got to let it go. Decide what is in your control and then let the rest go and stop the ruminating, because that ruminating is just going to crush your well-being. It is not going to help you be resilient at this time. You have to make a decision to stop. And then another strategy that I use, if I find myself fearful and ruminating about something, again, I'm aware, I become aware of it. But the second thing I do is I train my brain to focus on something else. So I have a go-to thought. My go-to thought is a happy thought. It's a comforting thought. It's my dog, Sam. So I will think about my dog, Sam. I will walk over to her because she's, unfortunately stuck here with us as well. And I'll just go to her and I'll pet her and savor her, and it's all good. So that's another thing that I do. Instead of the ruminating, I become aware, and then I have a go-to thought. Okay, so hopefully these strategies were helpful on how to reduce the fear of the coronavirus. If you are shut in, if you are feeling lonely, if you are alone at this time, I have created well-being water cooler talks. They happen Monday and Thursday of every week at 2 p.m. I've got the links on how you can register to get the Zoom link. I give one well-being tip, 3 minutes, and then we just spend 15 minutes socializing, talking. We could ask questions. I put people into groups. We just had one. So if you want to join in for the remainders, I have a few more coming up until April 9th, and I might continue if people want me to continue. It's just a way to, get out of this kind of lonely space at home. If you're feeling isolated, come join us. We would love to see you. Links below. So I'm sending you all of my positive energy. I am praying for all of you that you stay safe and healthy. If you have any questions for me, if I can be of any help to you, please do reach out, Louisa at louisajewel.com. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.